So, which one of you is next?
Some way to stop death and survive.
Two ways. Take a life. You get the time that person had left. Or you have to die.
Death is coming for our family.
Charlie!
Stephanie.
Grandma! Death is coming for us! Because we were never supposed to exist!
All of this fits together. We might have a chance.
Years ago, one woman had a vision and saved her entire family from a deadly tragedy, but fate doesn't like to be cheated. Now the bloodline that was never meant to exist is being erased, one horrific death at a time. If you're into mind-bending thrillers and Final Destination-style twists, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more dark stories just like this. The story begins in 1968. A red car crosses a railway track, carrying a couple, Paul and Iris. Iris is blindfolded, as Paul has planned to surprise the grand opening of a newly built restaurant tower. When she removes the blindfold and sees the tower, a wave of unease washes over her. Something about the place feels wrong. As they approach, Iris grows more anxious. Nearby, a boy steals coins from a fountain, despite a guard warning him it brings bad luck. Though the boy leaves, he manages to pocket one coin. Iris notices this and feels even more unsettled. Inside the elevator to the top of the tower, Iris is nervous. The lift is overcrowded, far beyond its 8-person capacity. Her fear intensifies as they ascend. At the top, Paul realizes she's uncomfortable with heights. She reassures him, saying it's not too bad because he's with her. While pinning a rose on his jacket, Iris pricks her finger. A small drop of blood falls, an ominous sign. Iris suddenly feels nauseous and leaves. At that moment, death quietly sets its plan in motion. A champagne cork hits a chandelier. A shard breaks off and cracks the glass floor beneath the dancers. The cracks begin to spread dangerously. Meanwhile, Iris is seen vomiting. A nearby woman notices and, sensing something, asks if she's pregnant. Iris admits she's about 2 months along, something she hasn't yet told Paul. Paul takes Iris outside and proposes to her. She joyfully accepts and shares the news of her pregnancy. Paul is overwhelmed with happiness. Nearby, the same mischievous boy who stole the coin throws it from the top of the tower. Instead of falling straight down, the wind blows it back into the building. The coin lodges itself in a fan, which spins violently under the strain. A piece breaks off, striking a nearby gas tank and causing a slow leak. Back at the party, Paul and Iris return to the dance floor as the cracks beneath their feet grow worse. Suddenly, Iris stops, haunted by everything she's seen. The steam from the kitchen, the cracked ice, the elevator warning, all signs of something terrible about to happen. Before she can react, the glass floor shatters. The guests standing on it fall to their deaths. Iris, who's just outside the fragile section, survives. Paul clings to a remaining shard of glass, and Iris tries desperately to save him, but the glass gives way, and Paul falls, dying in front of her eyes. Someone bumps into a man holding a flaming pan. The fire spills onto a woman, who runs in panic only to stumble into the area where gas is leaking. The gas ignites, triggering a massive explosion that burns many alive. Half the building is now destroyed and the entire structure is on the verge of collapsing. The coin, thrown out by the explosion, becomes a silent witness to the chaos and plays a crucial role throughout the unfolding disaster. Iris and the remaining survivors rush toward the elevator. As the building crumbles around them, some are swallowed by falling debris. The rest squeeze into the elevator, but it's overloaded. The lift breaks. One person caught in the closing doors is crushed instantly. The right side of the tower begins to tilt with survivors still inside. The coin flies through the air and lands on a precariously placed piano, a small nudge that seals their fate. The piano slides violently, crushing a woman in its path, smashing through glass, and dragging several others to their deaths. The mischievous boy somehow escapes the elevator only for the falling piano to land directly on him. After the impact, the coin rolls back into the fountain where it first appeared. Only Iris survives. As she tries to climb to safety, she spots a small child, the daughter of the woman who had guessed she was pregnant. Iris reaches for the child, but just then the rest of the tower gives way. She's left hanging from the edge, holding on to the child with nothing but her engagement ring keeping them from falling. The ring Iris had forcefully jammed onto her finger earlier now becomes her undoing. As it catches on the edge, it refuses to come off. Her finger is ripped off, and both she and the child fall to their deaths. This traumatic event leaves Iris terrified of heights, towers, elevators, and children, all tied to that tragic day. Just before the disaster, a song called Ring of Fire was playing on the radio, a haunting symbol of what was to come. The Abraham Lincoln coin also played a significant role in the tragedy. Iris is still alive. What we saw was her vision, but this time her granddaughter, Stephanie, is the one seeing the tragedy in her dreams. Stephanie has been haunted by this nightmare for 2 months. It's starting to unravel her life, her studies, her focus, everything. She finally realizes that to stop this, she must face it head on. Stephanie doesn't realize the woman from her dreams is actually her grandmother. She only knows the name Aris and feels she needs to find and talk to her, but has no idea where Aris is. She takes a leave from school and returns home, where we meet her dad and younger brother, Charlie. Then she hears Charlie is going to their uncle's house and decides to tag along. There, she meets Uncle Howard, Aunt Lisa, and her cousins Eric, who runs a tattoo and piercing shop and is covered in metal, Bobby, who's gentle and loves turtles, and Julia, a tough, tomboyish girl. Stephanie asks Howard about Aris. He admits she's his mother, but calls her crazy and warns Stephanie to stay away from her. Later, while the others are distracted Howard mowing the lawn, the kids playing with turtles, Stephanie turns to her aunt for help. At first hesitant, her aunt finally gives in and tells her where Darlin's box is hidden. Inside, Stephanie finds old photos of her grandparents and is shocked. They match exactly what she saw in her dreams. She also finds Aris's current address. Wasting no time, Stephanie travels to a secluded cabin deep in the woods. Aris now lives in complete isolation, trying to hide from death itself. She doesn't allow anyone near her. At first, she refuses to let Stephanie in until Stephanie says, "I'm your granddaughter." Aris agrees, but only after making her empty all her belongings into a metal box, her strict way of staying safe from death's design. Stephanie pauses, looking at the heavy metal gate. "Grandma, I'm not a threat to you." Aris's eyes narrow. "It's not you I'm afraid of." She slowly opens the gate. Stephanie steps inside. As she shuts the door behind her, it slams hard, knocking over a gas cylinder hanging nearby. The cylinder teeters, now silently joining death's ever-growing design. Aris gestures for Stephanie to sit. "Tell me, how did you find me? Did you come after reading my letters?" Stephanie shakes her head. "No, I saw you in my dreams." She takes a deep breath and describes the haunting scenes: the tower, the glass floor, the falling piano, the coin, everything she's witnessed in her sleep. Aris listens carefully, then says softly, "What you saw wasn't just a dream. It was my premonition." The story shifts into a flashback. Before Paul proposed, Iris had that same premonition. At first, she dismissed it as a nightmare. But when Paul knelt to propose, she realized it was a glimpse into the future, a warning. Determined, Iris snatched the coin from a mischievous boy, stopping the chain of events leading to the explosion. She then covered a burning pan with a lid, preventing a fire from spreading. Finally, she grabbed a microphone and warned everyone the building was unsafe and would collapse. Thanks to her warning, the crowd evacuated just in time. Hundreds survived, including Iris and Paul. Back in the present, Stephanie's eyes widen. "Wow, Grandma, you stopped a disaster." Iris shakes her head. "That's only part of it. Death doesn't like being cheated. It waits, patient and relentless. It eventually took everyone who escaped that day, even Paul. For years, Iris has studied death's patterns, learning to outsmart it, which is why she's lived locked away in this cabin for 2 decades. Outside, death's traps are endless. Her voice cracks, but no one escapes forever. "Death found me anyway. I was diagnosed with cancer 2 months ago." Stephanie's face pales. "That's when my dreams started." Iris reaches out, grabbing Stephanie's hand. "You need to stay here. Outside, it's dangerous." Stephanie pulls away, frustrated. "How can I stay hidden here? I have school, a life." Iris pleads, "Don't you see? Your life is at risk. Our whole family is. Death will come for all of us." Stephanie stares at her, thinking maybe everyone was right. Grandma is crazy. Maybe I'm the crazy one for coming here. She turns to leave. "Wait," Iris calls softly, "take this." She hands Stephanie a thick, worn book, her research on death's design and survival. But Stephanie doesn't look back. She walks away, leaving Iris alone in the cabin. Alone, Iris closes the door and sinks into a chair, weary. She knows her time is short. Death's trap is already set, and soon it will claim her too. Stephanie follows Iris outside, unsure but curious. Iris, determined to prove her point, tells her to watch closely. At that very moment, a strong gust of wind knocks a weather vane loose. It strikes a nearby gas cylinder, and the pressure launches the vane like a missile. It pierces straight through Iris's head, killing her instantly. Stephanie is left frozen, her face splattered with blood. The horror of the moment makes one thing clear: Iris was telling the truth. At the funeral, Stephanie is visibly shaken. She tries to explain the bizarre, violent way Iris died, warning others that something is seriously wrong, but no one takes her seriously. In fact, most people avoid even mentioning Iris at all. Then, unexpectedly, Darlene arrives, Stephanie's estranged mother, absent for years. Stephanie doesn't confront her. She simply walks out, too angry to stay. Back inside, Howard, Darlene's brother, welcomes her with open arms. He encourages the rest of the family to move forward, insisting they not live in fear like their late mother once did. Soon after, the family hosts a casual gathering, trying to return to normal. But lurking beneath the surface is something far from normal. Death has not left them. It's only waiting. The first sign appears during the gathering when Bobby accidentally drops a glass. He cleans it up, but a single shard ends up in the ice unnoticed, but dangerous, and is eventually served in drinks. Meanwhile, Stephanie begins diving into Iris's research. Through her notes, she discovers that death follows a set of rules and that every fatal event is preceded by a sign. Just then, a photo frame falls to the ground without warning. Stephanie stares at it, understanding instantly someone is about to die. She rushes to stop it. Elsewhere in the house, Julia begins choking after sipping her drink. The family panics. It seems like the glass shard has struck. But after a moment of coughing, she spits out a bug. Nothing more. She tosses the drink away. The real danger, however, remains hidden. The shard was never in her glass, it was in Stephanie's father's, and he has already taken a sip without noticing anything. At the same time, Eric and Bobby are outside, playing on a trampoline. But just below it, forgotten in the grass, is an upright rake. One wrong bounce, and it could trigger the next death. Just as danger looms, Darlene happens to notice the rake under the trampoline and casually moves it aside, unknowingly interrupting Death's plan. But Death adapts. Moments later, she accidentally knocks over a bottle, which rolls and activates a machine, causing subtle vibrations in a nearby pipe that dislodge the rake once again. Meanwhile, Stephanie arrives, sensing something is wrong, and begins scanning her surroundings, trying to understand what Death is planning. Suddenly, the trampoline bursts, startling Julia, who drops her drink, the very same one containing a hidden shard of glass. The glass shatters on the ground, and a sharp piece lands under Howard's foot. He steps on it, cries out in pain, and reflexively jumps backward, triggering the rake, which strikes a nearby lawnmower. The machine jerks to life and rolls forward, blades spinning. Howard trips and falls, and the mower crushes his face, killing him in a horrific accident. This time, the family can't dismiss what's happening. Stephanie's warning sounds like madness to the family. Darlene confronts her, blaming Iris's superstitions for ruining both of their lives, and pleads with Stephanie to let go before she loses herself too. But Stephanie lashes back. Meanwhile, Eric, unaware of the danger closing in on him, sits quietly in his shop, mourning his father's death. He listens to a somber song while getting a tattoo in his father's memory, never realizing he may be next. A sudden blast from the speakers causes mannequins to fall in Eric's shop, breaking a glass jar, another ominous sign. While cleaning up, Eric knocks over flammable liquid. At the same time, a fan's chain snaps and hooks onto his nose chain, lifting him off the ground. A falling lamp ignites the spilled liquid, and when the fan crashes, Eric is dropped into the flames, but the scene cuts. The next morning, Stephanie worries when Eric doesn't return, but she and Charlie unexpectedly run into him alive. Eric jokes that his leather jacket saved him and mocks the idea of death targeting him. Stephanie warns him death doesn't joke, it strikes when least expected. Trying to protect him, she even fears kids playing football. Eric teases her and mocks a nearby garbage truck, but then Julia, out jogging, is hit by the ball, falls into a trash can, and gets scooped into the truck. The driver, distracted on Tinder, doesn't notice. Stephanie chases the truck and jumps in, but it's too late. Julia is crushed. The family is shaken, finally believing Stephanie. She blames herself for watching Eric when Julia was next. Then, a secret is revealed. Eric isn't Howard's son, he's the result of an affair, which is why death skipped him. Now Bobby is next, terrified and begging for help. They search Iris's letters and find JV, a man Iris once saved, who claims to know how to cheat death. He explains two options: new death, where killing someone transfers their lifespan to you, or new life, where you die and are revived. Since Bobby can't kill anyone, they consider the riskier second option, dying and coming back. To cheat death, Bobby agrees to trigger his peanut allergy by eating candy, while Eric plans to save him with medicine. At a vending machine, they try to get the candy, but it jams. A warning sign hints at danger, but Eric, frustrated, cracks the glass while trying to force it. He tilts the machine while Bobby, unaware of the risk, retrieves the candy safely. They then hide in the MRI room, unaware the machine is activating. As the magnetic field builds, Bobby nervously says, "If this doesn't work, take care of my turtle," but Eric assures him he'll survive. Bobby eats the candy, and after a delay, his allergic reaction begins. In pain, he begs for the medicine, but Eric, panicked and rigid about the plan, hesitates. Suddenly, the magnet pulls Eric's metal objects, then Eric himself, crushing him against the machine. Bobby, barely hanging on, manages to inject himself with the medicine just in time. But in a final, unexpected twist, a spring flies from the vending machine and pierces Bobby's head, killing him instantly. Despite not being part of the cursed bloodline, Eric died because he interfered with death's plan, a fatal mistake. With Howard and his children gone, it's now Darlene's turn. Believing isolation is the only way to protect her kids, she insists on going to her late mother's cabin alone. But Stephanie and Charlie convince her to let them come along. On the way, they narrowly avoid an accident, with a logging truck a chilling echo of Death's designs. As they reach the cabin, it explodes before Darlene can even enter. She's injured, Charlie is pinned under debris, and Stephanie is thrown into the lake with a truck. Darlene frees Charlie but is crushed and killed by falling debris. Charlie, desperate, dives in and revives Stephanie with CPR. Because she died and returned, Stephanie now has temporary protection and new life. And as long as she lives, Charlie is safe too. A week later, Charlie attends his graduation. As Stephanie pins a rose on his robe, she pricks her finger and suddenly feels a wave of déjà vu, a flash from a forgotten premonition. At the same time, a woman drops a penny, and it rolls onto a train track, a scene that mirrors the movie's opening. The red car passes again, signaling that the cycle of life and death is repeating. Then, Stephanie and Charlie realize something horrifying. Death is only confirmed if a person is clinically dead for 5 minutes, but Charlie had revived Stephanie within 1. That means she never truly died, and Death's curse is still active. Just then, they spot the same red car again. Before they can process it, a train derails and hurtles toward them. They escape the initial impact, only to discover it's a logging train. Seconds later, a barrage of heavy logs crashes down on them, killing them both and completing Death's brutal design. The movie ends with only J.V.'s death unresolved, but it's never shown, as the actor tragically passed away in real life. This was his final film. The epilogue draws chilling connections to real-world events. Howard's death by lawnmower reflects a common cause of fatal accidents. Escalators claim dozens of lives each year. Vending machines have killed nearly 40 people in just 2 years. And eeriest of all, real-life incidents mirror Final Destination's theme. Take Hilda Yolanda Mail, a waitress who survived the 9/11 attacks at the World Trade Center, only to die in a plane crash 2 months later. Some say it was a cruel coincidence. Others believe death simply came back to finish what it started. These unsettling stories prove one thing: in real life, as in fiction, escaping death once doesn't always mean you've escaped it for good. In the end, it wasn't just about escaping death, it was about understanding that death never forgets. Every choice echoes, every survivor pays, and no one truly cheats fate without consequences. If this story gave you chills, there's more where that came from. Like, comment, and subscribe for more dark tales that blur the line between fiction and frightening reality.